Shabbat Shalom. Thank you for joining us both at home and here in the shul. And yes, we're wearing masks, and this changes a bit of the experience for all of us. It's a reminder that we all have a responsibility to support and care for and promote the health and the safety of one another. And I was speaking with Yehuda, and he said, I'm going to be available. May I stop by and play a little bit, even though it's not an official pre-advertised Guitar Shabbat. So we're grateful to Yehuda, thank you, Yehuda, and thank you to Sherry for driving across the big water to be with us this evening. So in a moment we'll begin. We're going to ask everyone to rise as Sherry lights the candles, and we'll start with the Shalom Aleichem in just a moment. Do you want to step forward and light the candles? Amen. Thank you, Sherry. Thank you, Gadiel. We'll begin. The Shalom Aleichem is on page number 5. We have a number of song sheets tonight, and on one of them we have the phrase, He has shown thee, O man, what is good and what the Lord requires of thee, but to do justly, to love chesed, and to walk humbly with thy God, quoting Micah 6:8. That's the sentence from the Bible that originates the name of our shul. Love mercy is Ahavas Chesed, love mercy, love of kindness. He has shown thee, O man.
Justly, and to love mercy, and to walk humbly with thy God. He has shown me, oh man, what is good and what the Lord requires of thee. He has shown me, oh man, what is good and what the Lord requires of thee, but to do justly and to love mercy and to walk humbly with thy God. He hath shown me, oh man, what is good and what the Lord requires of thee. He hath shown me, oh man, what is good and what the Lord requires of me, but to do justly and to love mercy and to walk humbly with thy God.
Shkoyach. Luchun Ranana on page number 11. Page number 11, Luchun Ranana. And you want to do Luchun Ranana?
I'm just trying to decide which version to play.
Go ahead.
I'll play mine. I don't like that high E. There it is.
Ranana. Lechune Ranana na na la la. Lechune Ranana. Ria na ria.
Letsu yishenu. God ma bona petoda. Ria na ria. Letsu yishenu. Bismiruk na ria love. Lechune Ranina. Lechune Ranina la 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 la. Lechune Ranina. Aria Naria Letsu Yishenu. Ikad Mafona Betoda. Aria Naria Letsu Yishenu. Bismiruk Naria love. Lechune Ranina. Lechune Ranina la 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 la. Lechune Ranina. Lechune Ranina. Lechune Ranina.
On page 12 on the English side, prior to the Im Tier 2 song. Page 12 on the English song, prior to Im Tier 2. For Adonai is our God, and we are God's flock, sheep in God's caring hands. If only you would listen today to God's voice and not become hard-hearted like the people at Merivah, like that time at Massah in the desert, when your ancestors tried me and tested me, though they had seen what I had wrought. For 40 years I was troubled by that generation, and I said, these are a people whose hearts have gone astray. They do not know my way. So in anger I swore they would not enter my rest. What does it mean if they're not going in the proper direction, that they would not enter my rest? So my rest here, probably in the original context, refers to the land of Israel. The land of Israel is a situation of rest, of calm, of being at home. And then, of course, much, much later, that's 3,000 years ago, much later, a mere 500 years ago, this was taken and set as the staging of a number of psalms to bring us into a period of Shabbat rest. So entering the land of Israel was a sense of being at home and secure and at rest. And now look at the song sheet with the phrase from Theodor Herzl. Im tirtzu, ein zo agada. If you will it, if you wish it, it's not a dream. It's not just lore. If you will it, it's going to become a reality. And you could say that this phrase of Herzl's merges with and reflects the last phrase of not quite making it into the land, but how do we in turn make it into the land? Im tirtzu ein zo agada.
Yotam Hoshi Be'arseinu Be'eretz Zion Be'Yerushalayim Tirtzu Ein Zo Agada Ein Zo Agada Lahi Yotam Hoshi Be'arseinu Be'eretz Zion, Yerushalayim, Tirtzu, Ein Zo Agada, Ein Zo Agada, Lahi Yotam Hoshi Be'arseinu, Be'eretz Zion, Yerushalayim, Tirtzu, Ein Zo Agada, Ein Zo Agada, Lahi Yotam Hoshi Be'arseinu, Be'eretz Zion, Yerushalayim.
And the other song sheet, Artsa Alinu, also refers to the land of Israel. It's a pioneer song of the 19-teens, 1920s. Literally, Artsa Alinu, we're going to the land, we're here. Kfar Charashnu V'gam Zaranu. We have sown and we have planted. Alval Olo Katsarnu, but we haven't finished all the work bringing in all the crops and all the produce. In the narrow sense, it means we've done much of the work, but we still have more work to do. In the broad sense, it means where are we in the fulfillment of the beautification of the land of Israel? And in tomorrow's Torah reading, we have Moses speaking of the beauty and the lush crops and the produce that the people of Israel will be enjoying in the land when they cross over in just a little while. Artsa Alinu, Kfar Charashnu V'gam Zaranu Aval Od Lo Katsarnu.
Artsa Alinu, Artsa Alinu, Artsa Alinu. Artsa Alinu, Artsa Alinu, Artsa Alinu. Kevar Charashnu V'gam Zaranu, Kevar Charashnu V'gam Zaranu. Aval Lo Katsarnu, Aval Lo Katsarnu, Aval Lo Katsarnu. Artsa Alinu, Artsa Alinu, Artsa Alinu. Artsa Alinu, Artsa Alinu, Artsa Alinu. Kevar Charashnu V'gam Zaranu, Kevar Charashnu V'gam Zaranu. Aval Lo Katsarnu, Aval Lo Katsarnu, Aval Lo Katsarnu. Artsa Alinu, Artsa Alinu, Artsa Alinu. Artsa Alinu, Artsa Alinu, Artsa Alinu. Karashnu, Vegam Saranu, Deva Karashnu, Vegam Saranu, Avala Lokat Sarnu, Avala Lokat Sarnu, Avala Lokat Sarnu.
Shkoyach, Yehuda, thank you. Shkoyach. Mizmor David on page 21. Page 21, Mizmor David, page 21. Mizmor LeDavid, Havul Adonai b'nei Elim, Havul Adonai kavod va'oz, Havul Adonai kavod shemol, Hishtachavu Adonai behadrat kodesh, Kol Adonai al hamayim, El kavod hirim, Adonai amayim rabim. Kol Adonai ba'koach, Kol Adonai be'adar, Kol Adonai shover arazim, Vaishaber Adonai et arzei halvanon. Vayarkidem kamo egel, Lebanon v'Siryon kamo ben Remim. Kol Adonai chotzei v'avotesh, Kol Adonai yachil midbar. Yachil Adonai midbar kodesh, Kol Adonai yechol el ayalot. Vayechesof ye'arot, uvahechalo kulo amer kavod. Adonai lamabul yashav, vayeshev Adonai melech leolam. Adonai oz li'amo yitein, Adonai yevarech et amo v'shalom. And the Chadodi on page 23, which stanzas, Yehuda?
First, second, and last.
First two stanzas on page number 23, the last stanza on page 25, please.
Lechando di likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekalela. Lechando di likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekalela. Shamor v'zakor v'dibur echad, Ishmi'anu elam echad, Adonai echad u'shmo echad, L'shimon tiferet v'litilo. Lechadodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekalela. Lechadodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekalela. Likrat Shabbat b'kuvan elcha, Ki makor ha'rocha, Mirosh mikadem nesucho, Tzavaseh v'shabati lo. Lechadodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekalela. Lechadodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekalela. O'i v'shalom ateret kala, Gam v'simcha v'gutzechola, Toch emunei am zegula, O'i chala, O'i chala. Lechadodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekalela. Lechadodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekalela.
And we are seated for the Psalm for Shabbat on page 27. Shabbat has now joined us, and we're singing a song to her. Mizmor shir liyom Shabbat, tov lodot ladonai, Olezamer l'shimcha elyon, Olezamer l'shimcha elyon. Lahagid baboker chasdecha, ve'emunatcha balelot, alei asor v'alei navel, alei gayon v'chinor, mizmor shir liyom ha-Shabbat, tov lodot l'Adonai, Olezamer l'shimcha elyon, Olezamer l'shimcha elyon. Ki simachthani Adonai b'falecha, b'maaseh yadecha aranim, magalo maasecha Adonai mod, amku makshavotecha, mizmor shir liyom ha-Shabbat, tov lodot l'Adonai, Olezamer l'shimcha elyon, Olezamer l'shimcha elyon. On page 28, the English. Surely your enemies, Adonai, surely your enemies will perish. All who commit evil will be scattered. As a wild bull raises up its horn, you raised my head high, anointed it with fresh oil. As my enemies gather against me, my gaze remains steady, for my ears listen and hear. The righteous flourish like the date palm, thrive like a cedar in Lebanon. Planted in the house of Adonai, they flourish in our God's courtyards. In old age they remain fruitful, still fresh and bountiful, proclaiming, "I is upright, my rock in whom there is no flaw." And you see, as we sing and chant and study these Psalms every single week, that this is from the book of Psalms. And so too on page 29, also from the book of Psalms. And there's another passage from the Psalms. It's the fourth song sheet. He that keepeth Israel, it's Tehillim, the book of Psalms. And it's not specifically part of the traditional Friday evening service, but Yehuda sings this very, very beautifully. So it's Hine Eloheinu, he that keepeth Israel, the fourth song sheet.
Hine Eloheinu velo yeshan, lo yanum velo yeshan. Hine Eloheinu velo yeshan, Shemer Yisrael. He that keepeth Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps, slumbers nor sleeps, neither slumbers nor sleeps. He that keepeth Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps, slumbers nor sleeps. Hine Eloheinu velo yeshan, lo yanum velo yeshan. Hine Eloheinu velo yeshan, Shemer Yisrael. He that keepeth Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps, slumbers nor sleeps, neither slumbers nor sleeps. He that keepeth Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps, slumbers nor sleeps. Hine Eloheinu velo yeshan, lo yanum velo yeshan. Hine Eloheinu velo yeshan, Shemer Yisrael.
Shkach Yehuda, thank you. We begin the Ma'ariv. We rise Borchu on page 39a. Borchu is on page 39a. We rise. Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamavorach. Baruch Adonai HaMavarach Le'olam Va'ed. And we are seated. Baruch Atah Adonai, our God, sovereign of time and space, whose word brings the evening dusk, whose wisdom opens the gates of dawn, whose understanding changes the day's division, whose will sets the succession of seasons and arranges the stars in their places in the sky, who creates day and night, who rolls light before darkness and darkness from light, who makes day pass into night, who distinguishes day from night. Adonai Tzvaot is your name, living and ever-present God. May your rule be with us forever and ever. Baruch Atah Adonai. He brings each evening stars. El Chai V'Kayam Tamidim Lo Chalen Olam Voed. Baruch Atah Adonai Hama'ariv Aravim. On page 40, the last two lines on the English side. Do not ever withdraw your love from us. Baruch Atah Adonai, who loves the people Israel. V'alvatecha al tasir mimenu la'olamim. Baruch Atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Would you like to do the Shema Yehuda? The Shema is on page 41.
God is a trustworthy king. Shema Yisrael
Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shiftecha b'veitecha v'alektecha v'aderech v'shachbecha v'kumecha v'kishartam la'ot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha v'ktavtam al mezuzot beitecha v'visharecha. A few moments of silence, perhaps on page number 42. Adonai Elohechem emet. In a moment, Mi Chamocha on page 44. Do you want to do the Mi Chamocha? You want to do your Mi? Page 44, Mi Chamocha.
Chamocha nedor lakodesh Norata ilot osei felech Norata ilot Mikutecha Rahu Vanecha Okeyam Lifnei Moshe Zeli Anu Ve'amru Adonai Yimlok Le'lam Vayed Dai 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 Dai
V'ne'emar ki fadarno et Yaakov ugalo miyad chazak mimenu baruch atah Adonai Gal Yisrael. And the Hashkivena on the English side, page number 45. Allow us, Adonai our God, to sleep peacefully. Awaken us to life, O Sovereign. Spread over us your canopy of peace. Restore us with your good counsel, and save us for the sake of your name. Shield us. Remove from us enemies, pestilence, sword, starvation, and sorrow. Remove the evil forces that surround us. Shelter us in the shadow of your wings. For you, God, watch over and deliver us. And you, God, are sovereign, merciful, and compassionate. Ensure our going and coming for life and peace, now and forever. May you spread over us your canopy of peace. Baruch atah Adonai, who spreads the canopy of peace over us, over all the people of Israel, and over Jerusalem. Ufros aleinu sukkot shalom echo, baruch atah Adonai, haporeis sukkot shalom aleinu, v'al kol amo Yisrael, v'al Yerushalayim. V'shamru, page 46.
Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasot et ha-Shabbat ledorot hamirit olam. Uvei b'nei Yisrael oti leolam, oti leolam, oti leolam. Sheshet Yamim Asa Adonai et Hashemayim v'et haaretz v'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasot et ha-Shabbat ledorot hamirit olam. Uvayom hashvi Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash. Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasot et ha-Shabbat ledorot hamirit olam. Veshameru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasot et ha-Shabbat ledorot hamirit
Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabba. Amen. B'mskrei b'chayechon u'v'yamechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael bagala u'v'zman kariv v'imero. Amen. Yahei Shemei Rabba Mevarach La'olam Li'olmei Olmaya Yitborach V'yishtabach V'yitpa'ar V'yitramam V'yitnasei V'yithadar V'yitale V'yitalal Shemei Dekudesha Brichu Leila Min Kol Berchata V'shirata Tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran v'yolma v'imiru. Amen. We now rise to the silent Amida, pages 47 to 52, or an opportunity for private silent prayer. Shalom Rav, on page 51, the concluding bracha, the concluding blessing of the Amida, may there be great peace for Israel and for the entire world. Shalom Rav, in the Hebrew and the transliteration as well, page 51.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amha Tasim Leolam. Ki atau melech adom Lechol HaShalom. Ki atau melech adom Lechol HaShalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amha Tasim Leolam. Tov enecha levarech et zamcha Yisrael lechol etz uvechol shah ishlomecha. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam.
Shkoyach. Page 54. Yitkara Yitkara Shemei Rabbah Be'amat Limeru Amen. Yehei Shemei Rabbah Mevarach Olam Liol Me'ol Maya Yitbarach Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitbarach 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 Kudesha Brechu Leila Min Kol Berchata V'shirata Tushbechata V'nechamata Da'amiron Ba'mavimro Amen. Tidkabel Tzlatamutun D'chayisra Kadam Avuhun Divishmai Vimro Amen. Yesh Chosvimro Amen. O Seshalom Bermumavi Yaster Shalom Olenov Vimro Amen. Speaking of the Olympics, you may or may not know that once Yeshiva University had an Olympic team. They had a rowing team. And yet every time, as try as they might, they just never quite get even out past the gate. And they worked at it and they worked and they couldn't quite get it. And finally they had the idea they're going to send their Shamash Motl to Harvard. Harvard. Maybe they'll get a pointer. Maybe Harvard will be charitable, give them a pointer. And so the next day the team gathered. Motl came back and he said, I went to Harvard. You have a pointer, you have a pointer. You have one idea. He said, you know, there they do something a little bit different. One man shouts and everybody else rows. Okay, so it's a team sport. All right. And I, like Minette, like you, and Minette and I have been watching the Olympics lately, and I'm just overwhelmed by the power and the precision and the endurance of these athletes. And all of these athletes are, to my eye, very young and accomplished. And they're at the peak of their skills, and they have these extraordinary talents. And they're on display for all of us to enjoy and to marvel at. And we've been watching swimming and gymnastics. And I'm sure that you saw the news or perhaps the broadcast where Simone Biles unfortunately did very poorly. And she chose to withdraw from the team competition. And what struck me was that she went up to her teammates and she embraced them all. And she said, I love you all and I wish all the best for you. And then the alternate was brought forward. And ever after, during these continued broadcasts, Simone Biles has been in the stands as a spectator, which must be enormously difficult and challenging because she's used to being at the center of the arena. And she's been cheering on her teammates and supporting her teammates and sharing love and support. And it puts forth a very important message of being in step with someone else, of being part of a team. And we Jews are members of a team. And it's very easily and very well conveyed in the most well-known of all prayers that we have. We say Shema Yisrael many times, and most people are not aware of the slight grammatical error in that phrasing. Because officially it should be Shim-U, like Borachu or Hallelu. It should be Shim-U because we're all lots of different people, and it really should be Shimu Yisrael. All of you, each one of you as a member of Israel, do the Shema. But the Torah uses the term Shema Yisrael, and of course it's in the prayer, but we've known it for 3,000 years. It's as if every one of those individual Jewish people all across the world has been folded into one single individual. As if the entire nation of Israel, for the past 3,300 years since Moses, is one person. And in tomorrow's Torah reading, which comes just a few paragraphs after the original Shema Yisrael, there's a phrase, and it's kind of almost continuing on with the main movement of the Shema Yisrael. There's a phrase, and it says, "O Israel, all of you," and it's speaking collectively and as one, "have to care for the widow and the orphan and the stranger and the lonely and the sick as you move into the promised land." And we hear that phrase all the time. But there's a word that I never noticed until this morning. O Israel, you have to care for and support the widow and the orphan and the stranger and the lonely and the sick and your friend. I don't think I've really noticed that word before. The follow-up to the Shema Yisrael in that extension of this paragraph tomorrow is, in addition to caring for the widow and the sick and the lonely, you have to care for your friend, O Israel. That's got the punch, it's got the force, it's got the imprimatur of the Shema. And we saw that demonstrated by Simone, and we all know how important it is to reach out and to care not only for those who are lonely and sick, but for our friends. We can't ever take our friends for granted. May we hear the Shema Yisrael this week and every week. We rise for Kiddush. It's on page 55. And, I'm following the Siddur. Sorry, I changed my order because we do that at the end of the service. Okay. Page 56, the Aleinu. We'll do the Kiddush at the end of the service. Page 56, the Aleinu. Aleinu is on page 56. Aleinu leshabeach ladon hakol latet gedula liotzer breshit shelo asanu kugoye haratzot velo samanu kemishpachot adama shelo sam chelkenu kahem vegor aleinu kechol hamonam ba'anachnu korim umishtachavim umodim lifnei melech malchei hamalachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Shehu Noteh Shamayim V'Yosei Haaretz, Umoshav Yekaro B'Shamayim Mimal, Ushchinatu zo, Begavei Meromim, Hu Eloheinu Ein Od, Emet Malkeinu Evezulato, Kakatu B'Torato, V'yadata Yom B'Shevota El Levavecha, Ki Adonai Hua Elohim, B'Shamayim Mimal, V'yal Haaretz, Mitachat Ein Od. Kakatu b'Toratecha, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed, v'nemar, v'haya Adonai, le'melech al kol haaretz, bayom hahu, yihyeh Adonai echad, O Shema Echad. In a moment, the Mourner's Kaddish on page number 58. On this Shabbos, we remember with great love Dr. William Levy, Adolf Rossner, David Reiner, Leela Simon, Jacob Novoselsky, Anna Gollum, Paul Aaron Liebeskind, Dora L. Stark, Marvin Olinsky, Rini Block, Sid Marcus, Sarah Liebeskind, Belle Strinsky, Aaron Fischler, Harry Zarimba, Minnie Maisel, Melvin Weber, Anna Lee Reddish, Fred Frisch, Thelma Carafiol Miller, Sandy Gerwich, Blanche Feynman, Joseph Baer, Leonard J. Sibley, Myra Buckman, Dr. Murray Muchnick, Paul Buckstein. Are there any other names to mention tonight? Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabba. Amen. Ba'olma divra chirute v'yamlich malchute. B'chayechon v'yomechon v'chaye dechol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imeru. Amen. Yehei shemei rabba mivarach la'olam olmei olmaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal shemei dekudasha b'richu. La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran ba'alma v'imaru. Amen. Yehei shalama rabba min shamaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imaru. Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imaru. Amen. our hearts are open to all whose hearts are filled with sorrow during grief and loss. And may we all have the ability to share love and support with those who are grieving and mourning. A few quick reminders. Minyan, of course, tomorrow morning, and tomorrow evening, Zoom, Havdalah at 8 o'clock, and Monday is Tanakh, and Tuesday is Adult Hebrew, and also Spirit. And that's it for right now. And Yehuda's going to conclude with Yehuda's Oseh Shalom, and then we can make Kiddush and Motzi, and our prayers are for Shalom to go out into the world.
Oseh Shalom Bimramah Uyaseh Shalom Leinu Ve'yam Kol Yisrael Ve'imeru Amen Imeru Amen Oseh Shalom Yaseh Shalom Aleinu Ve'yam Kol Yisrael Ve'imeru Amen Imeru Amen Oseh Shalom Bimramah Uyaseh Shalom Aleinu Ve'yam Kol Yisrael Ve'imeru Amen Imeru Amen.
Do you remember Yehuda composed that melody? Shkach Yehuda, thank you. Let's rise for Kiddush. Kiddush is on page number 55 in the Siddur. Yehuda, you want to make Kiddush?
Sure.
Okay. Page 55, we got wine and grape juice in the back, and also challah if you'd like to make a hamotzi. And as you're walking to the back of the room, glance at the windows, the stained glass windows that are illuminated tonight, and bringing this beautiful color into our room this evening. Look at the stained glass windows here. Aren't they gorgeous on both sides of the sanctuary? Kiddush, page 55.
Baruch atah Adonai
Shmo.
Eloheinu melech haolam Borei peri hagafen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai
Shmo.
Eloheinu melech haolam Asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzevanu V'shabbat kodsho b'yavahu v'ratzon hinhilanu Zikaron lemahaseh v'reheshit Ki hu yom tehila lamichrai kodesh Zecher letziat Mitzrayim
Kivanu v'acharta v'yotanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha v'yahava v'ratzon hinchaltanu.
Baruch atah Adonai
Ushmo.
Mekadesh HaShabbat.
Amen. Shkoyach. Mike, you want to do hamotzi? Ushmo. Amen. Shkoyach. Good Shabbos. Thanks for joining in. We hope that you have a week of peace, a week of good health, and we look forward to seeing you at some point in the near future. Please God, whenever that may happen, with health and safety. And May you and your loved ones be healthy. Good Shabbos. Shalom.